Well, I came here in 2019. At a time, Lebanon was reasonably stable. We had a workforce of over 25,000 people here working as migrant workers. And also we had peacekeepers, Sri Lankan peacekeepers at the blue line towards the south of Lebanon. This was generally, it was a beautiful city and really prosperous people, many quite relaxed economy. This was what I came into. But I had a personal interest in coming to Lebanon and Syria because it was my interest in history and archaeology. And the books I have read and to see the evolution of cultures and people. So this was a personal interest. As I came on the 8th of September and presented my credentials to President Aoun on the 12th of September, and things were reasonably stable. And in November, the economic crisis came. And that was a thing that I have seen similar things when during my posting in Russia, but not in this magnanimity. Then on the 4th of August, the third largest explosion in the world occurred in Lebanon. And this was something really incredible. We were not prepared for it. It just happened suddenly and really unfathomable. 300,000 houses broke, including the ambassador's residence of Sri Lanka. Many other embassies broke. Sri Lanka embassy also had some extensive damage. And there was a total calamity. And no book in the world about diplomacy could prepare me for it. And we were shocked. We were very happy that we were not physically damaged. I was inside my car when this happened. You won't believe, the car just lifted itself up and fell on the road like this on all four tires. But me and the driver Shani Calyaneratne at that time, we just looked behind to see whether another car had hit us. We were about 25 kilometers away from this epicenter of this explosion. And this was something. And then when I look back, when you ask about highlights, how we faced it was a highlight in my career. How we managed that situation. We had domestic workers injured in the explosion, their houses broken, their employers dead. And really, we couldn't. And then there was a call for blood donations in public media. The hospitals were asking for blood. And we put a notice on our Facebook asking people who are not injured, Sri Lankans, to come and donate blood. I donated blood. We all went to the nearest blood collection centers and we donated blood. This is another thing, like if my blood can be put into a person, I don't know, that brings a brotherhood of human beings. This is something that brought the Lebanese people and the Sri Lankan community very close. No other country did that, the blood donation campaign. And subsequently, the following year, I received the Beirut Golden Award for, it was called Service Beyond the Call of Duty. I really appreciate this. We never thought that this is something I mean, when we gave blood, we just felt, what can we do? This is the least we can do. And we gave, and some people gave like about half a liter, some people gave less depending on their weight. But it was something that really brought the people together, that there was a real brotherhood or a sisterhood between the Lebanese people and us. So this is something that I can say that as a Sri Lankan, I am very proud to be a party to something like this. And I also want to thank all migrant workers who helped by donating blood. We also gave groceries. Sri Lanka gave a donation of tea. There were people who came to our embassy to thank us for this. There was this whole scenario between us, the embassy staff, and the general public in Lebanon changed in a very visible way. I also want to thank, even though I had worked at the consular affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I was initially a assistant director, and then I went up in all ranks I have held at consular affairs. Among my master's degrees, I have one master's in regional development and planning, where I did my research on the spending patterns of migrant workers. So this was my background to work with migrant workers in Lebanon. And had I come here before I started on that master's, I think the findings would have been quite broad-based, as well as more to the point. And maybe probably my questionnaire would have been put in a different way. So there is a knowledge gap there for a future person, a researcher, to study the spending patterns of migrant workers. There, I think this is, my findings were, the spending patterns were for building a house, probably buying a land, building a house, and the children's education. But you come here, you associate with the migrant workers, and you see there are many other major expenditure that people do. And one expenditure that I did not include in my questionnaire that I should have was recreation. And then when we identified this recreation part of it, we have had talent shows for migrant workers. This is a highlight on my, it's in my career and as the ambassador here. The talent shows, and people sing, dance. We have had art exhibitions of grown-ups as well as children of Sri Lankan migrant workers in Lebanon. We have also integrated very much into society, because we are a labor exporting country. And when the people of the receiving country sees us that we are reasonably good people to have in their own house, there is a distinct advantage. Even now, even though the economy is of Lebanon, according to statistics, seems rather bleak, but in actual terms it is not, because Lebanese people at the moment do not put their money into banks, into Lebanese banks, but they do have bank accounts in other countries. Most Lebanese people hold two passports, one from Lebanon and one from another country. And so many people have bank accounts. And even though the banks of Lebanon are in a tight situation, the people of Lebanon are freely buying things with US dollars or sterling or in euros or sometimes other tradable currencies in the world. So this is something, there are so many vacancies for domestic workers in Lebanon. We have a very good name here. When other African and Asian countries, except for Philippines, go for much lower salaries, our salaries start higher. And knowledge of English, the NVQ certificates, all this helps to raise the salaries of the starting salaries of domestic workers. And very much for me to see that the Lebanese children who are now holding cabinet ministerial portfolios, they come and tell me, I was raised by a Sri Lankan lady. We love her. I think a good example for a global village. We are people born in different countries, but they have very well integrated into the Lebanese society, be them Sunni Muslims or Shia Muslims, or the majority are Christian denominations like Catholics, Greek Orthodox, and the Druze families. These are the major demographical demarcations of the population in Lebanon. So I believe that it is really something. I have really seen something, and there's so much potential. Lebanon is one of the major wine producing countries. They make for many other famous labels. Grapes grown in Lebanon contribute towards the red wine, white and the rosés. Then there is there are other alcoholic beverages that are made here, non-alcoholic beverages, fruit juices. All this they export. And also, I am a great fan of chocolates. Some of the best chocolates I have seen and I have eaten are made in Lebanon. One such a famous brand is Pachi. Pachi is, you can buy Pachi in many European countries and also in the UK. You can buy them. There are many other small but very unique industries in Lebanon. So these are, I think, what I can say, in just a nutshell. I can go on and on about talking about this subject. But when you think about trying to put it into a nutshell, this is what I think. I hope, I have answered this question in a point of view of a spectator who hasn't seen Lebanon and who does not know the work of an ambassador. I must also say that the peacekeeping troops in Nakura at the Blue Line in Lebanon is doing an extremely good job. The current force commander, as well as his predecessor, has spoken extremely highly about our peacekeeping troops. They have done an excellent job here. And they have had no peacekeepers in. So this is something must continue. And the good training and the professionalism of Sri Lankan workers, either they are domestic or peacekeepers, have been many times commended. The current status of Lebanon, well, when you look at the per capita income as many families have someone in their family, maybe 2, 3 people working outside Lebanon and are earning their wages in hard currencies. You really don't see a decline of living standards or uh, uh, let me say, their buying power. You go to a supermarket or an expensive clothing store, it's full of people. The people are buying, except for the government work sector. The government workers, their salaries are fixed in Lebanese pounds. So these people who work for the government, they haven't had a salary increase. So I'm sure they would find it a bit difficult because their buying power has declined. Every day, the prices in Lebanese pounds change depending on the black market or the open market rate. The current, the Lebanese pound Lebanese pounds. And in a money exchange center, you can get for one US dollar 45,000 Lebanese pounds. So the commodity prices in supermarkets and in clothing stores, etc. In some places, I have seen the prices marked in dollars. Or some places, they have a code, they take it to the cashier, and the cashier will know the daily rate of that. So, economic hardships in Lebanon have a lot to do with the policies. So, policies are something that the Lebanese people have to decide, and they have to arrive at some kind of a solution. Economies COVID has done a lot of damage to the Lebanese economy as well. For long periods of time, manufacturing agencies were closed and people sought other jobs outside the country. And when after everybody received their minimum 3 doses of vaccination, and when these places opened, you can't find people to work in them. So this is something because the workforce has traveled outside the country. So, other than that, I think, these cyclical movements of economies worldwide, something that is happening in many countries. So I hope and wish Lebanon good luck, and I hope that, things work out for these people. The one thing is that the people have lost their faith in the banking system. This is a dangerous situation. Actually, it has to be controlled. When the banks collapse, the borrowings are less, and also people's money, their savings accounts, their fixed deposits are frozen at the moment. You can't get your money out, and you can only get a limited amount in according to the official rate. So you can't really get your money out. There are many people who have millions of dollars in dollar terms, in foreign currencies in the banks, and some people are really stuck in that area. Yes, Syria-Sri Lanka relations go way back because we are in the non-aligned. And the former president of Syria has visited Sri Lanka as well. The current foreign minister of Syria has visited Sri Lanka as well. Syria-Sri Lanka relations have been stable and in international forums, we have received their support. I have traveled to Syria many times. It's actually, in my understanding, Damascus is a wonderful city for a person to visit. We also started last year, 2021. Sri Lanka had a ban on Sri Lankans working in Syria, but before that we had many Sri Lankans working in Syria. But last year, Syria opened their domestic market to Sri Lankan workers, and the same salaries as Lebanon. Lebanon, if let's say, for example, if a person can get $400 per month working as a domestic worker, in Syria also you can get the same salary. And there are many extremely affluent and rich people in Syria who are interested in Sri Lanka. And Syria, there are many Syrians with two passports. And this is a market that I have tried my very best to open, and I have done it. And we are trying to recruit people to Syria as well. Syria is relatively, Damascus is very safe. There is no problem in Damascus. You can also find Damascus as the cost of living is cheaper than Lebanon. It's a nice country to live in, and there are Christian denominations as well as Muslims, and a small number of Jewish people living in the city. It's a wonderful place. I must say that, I think the very first Sri Lankans who came to Syria started in the late 1970s, like 79. I have met people who came to Syria in 1979. Subsequently, with the international embargoes, and they show on television, you have to understand that Syria is a very, very large country in size. So if something happens in the in one part of Syria, it doesn't mean that the entire Syria is in a difficult situation. Syrian, they have more security personnel on the roads, you can see that. And there's very tight security. And I have always stayed either in an apartment hotel or in a regular hotel when I travel to Syria. And I have found it to be there is immense potential in Syria. They have a very strong pharmaceutical industry. They are our third largest tea buyer in the world. People think about embargoes and that their market is not open to us. Their market is absolutely open to us. They are very much interested. We have done during my time 2 tea exhibitions, and their buyers come. They are buying at the moment, buying tea from other countries as well, but we still remain the number one position and the balance of trade is in our favor. So this is really good. I hope, we continue to do this, building up our relations with other countries. We see the points where we can score. We can show, we actually, sometimes we see ourselves in them, because we have also had a the times of war had been like this. But we came out of it, and things happen. There are ups and downs in political situations and economic situations, but socially and culturally we are very similar in many ways. The current status, generally, I think the situation is relatively calm. And when you, I have traveled outside Damascus as well. It's relatively calm outside, and there are bigger cities also. Damascus is the world's continuously. Damascus has been the capital continuously from the time of early civilizations. And many Christian saints, I have traveled to all these places. Situation is where Mother Mary is born. It's quite far from the city, sparsely populated. And then there are places where during biblical time, the paths that people have traveled on foot, traveled on horseback, traveled on donkeys, or other animals that could travel or could pull a cart. It's amazing. And when you talk about the situation, and I think one must see the Damascus, the National Museum of Syria. You can see the whole civilization evolving there. You can see stages of it. It's a wonderful experience, and you can't actually separate as human beings are involved simultaneously in all spheres. Like the same people are involved in the economics, they are involved in the maintaining law and order, in culture, and in everything. So I do believe that, and I would like to say that Syria is, it could be better, but they are doing okay. Actually, the areas we must look at, when we have an economic downfall, we must, and the policies of government encourages people to seek work outside Sri Lanka. These two countries have potential workplaces, many workplaces. The Syrian law and the Lebanese law enables domestic workers to travel to these two countries. And we do have a domestic worker force coming from Sri Lanka. And I think that this is an area where without investing a capital, you can relatively earn. We have people from Sri Lanka whose monthly wages go up to over $2,000 a month, working as chefs, caregivers, child minding people. So these are the areas that we must focus on. If you like to come to Lebanon or Syria to work, I would very much like to encourage the general public to do so. These countries are, they belong to a very ancient civilization. They are quite refined in their outlook, in their thinking. There are no incidences of domestic violence against Sri Lankan workers in either Syria or in Lebanon. The judiciary structure is fairly balanced, and if you make a mistake, we can always go to courts, and the law is not tilted towards the people of the country. They will look at a balanced point of view, which I think is where it's very important that we have this balance in the judiciary system. So I think the areas of cooperation between people to people, or another thing that I have seen in Sri Lankan supermarkets, olive oil being imported from Spain, but actually some of the olive oil, best olive oil in the world, is produced in Lebanon. So these are if anyone wants to import there's a niche market, and anyone wants to import things that are produced in Lebanon, olive oil would be one of them that we don't produce at all, but there is a market for it in Sri Lanka. So I think there is quite a lot of potential. I think, you must come and see the beauty of a country. When I was posted to Lebanon, I was very happy. I think one of the greatest postings an ambassador can have. This has bilateral work as well as multilateral work. Every day something is happening. There's not a dull moment. It's a wonderful place, both countries. I thank you.